Eddie. And then I've had a mass of emails about sessions this week. I'll try and cover everything I can about sessions. If there's anything at the end that still isn't intro or that I haven't covered, just let me know. And I'll quickly cover it. Pretty easy in all fairness. Right. This is how a session is stored. Session start is, as you know, the way to initialize it completely. When you initialize it the first time, it adds. I know I flagged a paging with cookies saying that it didn't store the session isn't a cookie. Well, essentially it isn't, but what it does, which I didn't realise it did, is it stores a cookie with a reference to the session on the server. So there's no data actually stored in the cookie, it's just a reference to the session on the server. So it matches them up. And then it creates a file on the server where in your temp folder, which is what all the issues are with Uni, it can't create that file. So what happens is when you then go to another page, it can't find that file and it flags up the warning saying, well, I haven't got a file in. So that's the problem with Uni. But it calls it session in the 32 character ID and the cookie is 32 session ID and the same 32 character ID. So that's how they're matched up. So I've stuck a little apology version because there was some form of cookie involved in sessions. Right. The rules of sessions are basically, if you need session start anywhere where before anywhere where you use a session. If you're using a session, you need session start. So what session start does, not apart from the first time, is what it does is it says, right, okay, look for a header of the cookie session ID. So what you saw before is it basically tells it to look for that cookie. And then once it's found that cookie, it will look for the session file on the thing when you specify where. So once you've done that, you can read and write. Otherwise, you don't need it just to write. You need it full stop. Wherever you're reading or writing, you need that. I think a lot of people have hit a brick wall because they haven't put that in, so I think they just need it to write it, and then obviously they can't read it, so they get errors. One thing I should mention is that every time you create a new session, it doesn't create a new file. What it does, it just adds information to that file. So that 32 character ID will always be one session. It's always unique, but whilst you're logged in or whilst that session is still active, if you create a new session, it just adds it to that file. So that's just, you don't really need to do that, but that's basically what happens. Right, reading and writing from sessions. So you've got your session start. I'm creating a session, name goes here, and then I've just put in just to try and string this is some data. Further down here, I'm echoing out that session, and that's what that output. This is some data. Really, really simple. Doesn't get much more easy than that. There's a demo of it, but you don't really need a demo. Right, check-in sessions. This is using isSet. isSet can be used to check any variable. Use it to check if you've got host, headers, get headers, anything really. I think you can just use it for normal variables as well, but also able to check sessions. So you'd use isSet, which returns a boolean in this form. So you've got your session in goes here. This is some data like before. But here I've got an if statement. So I've got if isSet name goes here, which we have them. It echoes out session name goes here isSet. And if it isn't, it will echo if it's not set. And then here I've got name goes here too, which we haven't set anywhere. So there isn't a session called name goes here too. So obviously it's going to echo out that is not set, which it does at the top, and we can set that on the bit at the top. Is everyone with me so far? So it's relatively easy. Sessions flag your head when you think about it, but if you think about it in simple terms, that's what it is. It's really, really easy. Removing a session, removing the whole session is really easy. Unset whole session. Has anyone else had problems with that though? No. Well, you told me you saw no problem, didn't you? Doesn't seem to be working for me. Anyway, unset session permit, somewhere called it appropriate. That will just delete the whole session, no reference to it. Well, deletes it out. Right, removing a single item from the session. I got an email about removing single items from sessions. This is not as easy. Here you've got, well, I've got something. Basically, what you're doing here is this here is an array containing what items you want to remove. So in your this is assuming this section here is an array itself. So what you want to do is say you've got, I don't know, 10 items in your basket and you want to remove the middle 2 or whatever. You've got to know where in the array that is. So the items to be removed within the remove array. So obviously you put that before each, so each one will come out in value. And then what we do is we make the session into a separate new array. And then what we do is we unset the value from the removed in the new array, and then set the session to that new array. Does that make sense? It's quite confusing. Is anyone lost? Because it takes a bit of thinking, but basically what you're essentially doing is creating a new array from the session, taking whatever you want out of that array, and then setting the session back to that new modified array without the stuff that you want. And then that basically removes single items. Quite complicated, but right. How to make PSQL search in the shop page. That was an email I got, and basically that is how you do it. That's how you do it. What I've got is I've got a get, because it's not really important information. You don't need to hide how much, whether it's lower or higher than £40. So I've got a get header, and what it does is price is just set to get rate. So it's 40. So select all from CS games where the price is less than 40, and then obviously you can do whatever you want with the information it returns. But that is how you essentially search for things. And if you're going for things more than 40, more than whatever you want, just change that to go to them. Really easy. And that's all I've got this week, because I mean I've had like a load of emails and sessions really. So I mean there's nothing too complicated. Has anyone got any further questions they want to ask? It's a really quick session, like, 5 minutes? Does anyone want to go over anything again? That's good, I suppose. There's nothing else anyone wants me to cover. No? You? Oh no, that's right. Yeah, it's fine. Nick? No? Brilliant. Well.